Have you ever felt like something sacred happened in your sleep, but you couldn't remember what it was? A face, place, a feeling that something had shifted, and yet, by morning, all you had left was silence. In Buddhism, not everything that disappears is lost, and not everything we forget is meaningless. Some dreams leave no story, only a trace of softness in the breath, or a shift in how gently you speak to yourself the next day. In this episode, we explore the wisdom hidden in the dreams we forget, and why their silence might be their greatest teaching. Stay with us, because somewhere between breath and memory, a message is waiting for you. Cherry blossom, and if you feel held by this journey, subscribe to walk gently with us through each dream, each dharma, and each step toward peace. Part 1: The Vanishing Dreams. It happens quietly. You open your eyes to morning light, and just like that, the dream is gone. You felt something. You know you did. There was a face, a voice, a place you've never been but somehow belonged to. And yet, the moment you try to grasp it, it slips like water through fingers that didn't know they were holding anything at all. You sit up, searching the edges of your mind for the scent of it, the shape of it, but all that remains is a feeling, fleeting, tender, strangely familiar. Have you ever felt that way? Like your soul just had a conversation you weren't invited to remember? Like something beautiful happened, but you were asked not to hold it too tightly? In Buddhist thought, the dream realm is not nonsense, nor accident. It is one more whisper of the mind, one more flicker of karma expressing itself in symbols, shadows, sensations. But not all whispers are meant to be remembered. Some are meant to move through you, not stay with you. And perhaps the reason we forget certain dreams is because their purpose isn't in being understood, but in being felt for just a moment beneath the surface. A monk once said, "Some truths are too soft for daylight, and dreams, they are often truths wrapped in mist, delivered in a language the waking mind doesn't speak." Lynn, a woman who often practiced mindful sleep, once told me of a recurring experience. She would wake up with tears on her cheeks, her chest tight with a deep ache, and yet she remembered nothing. No storyline, no image, only the emotion, as if someone had visited her in the night, held her heart, and left before dawn. She used to panic, searching for the meaning. Was it a past life memory? A warning? A message from a deeper self? But over time, she stopped asking and started listening, not to the story, but to the echo, the residue of the dream that stayed in her breath, in the way she moved through the day, in the tenderness it left behind. Because maybe what matters most is not what the dream said, but what it softened in her. In Buddhism, the concept of anicca, impermanence, applies to everything, even dreams, even the ones that felt sacred, even the ones we wish we could remember forever. But impermanence doesn't mean meaningless. It means passing through. It means trusting that not everything needs to be held tightly to be holy. So what if today, instead of chasing your forgotten dreams, you honored them simply by acknowledging that they were here and that their leaving was part of their gift? Sometimes forgetting is a form of release. Sometimes memory is not the proof of wisdom. Presence is. And as we continue this journey through the forgotten landscape of dreams, we invite you to soften your mind, to quiet your search, and to simply feel what remains when the images fade, because the dream may be gone, but the message is still here, waiting in the stillness between each breath. Part 2: The Mind That Doesn't Sleep. The body sleeps, the eyes close, the breath slows, but the mind doesn't truly rest. It moves, travels. It remembers things we thought we forgot, and imagines things we never consciously dared to know. In Buddhist psychology, the mind is not a switch. It's a stream, ever flowing. Even as we dream, the current continues, beneath awareness, beneath form, beneath everything we think we are when we're awake. When we fall asleep, we think we've shut down, but in truth, we've only withdrawn the senses from the outside world. Inside, the mind begins its own quiet pilgrimage. In the Abhidhamma teachings, the mind is seen as multi-layered. There's the surface mind, active, logical, easily distracted. Then there's the deeper mind, where karma rests, where seeds of past thoughts and emotions lie waiting. And during sleep, this deeper mind stirs. It sifts through unprocessed grief, touches unfinished stories, and sometimes even opens up to subtle karmic impressions, memories from this life, or perhaps others. A dream isn't always just a product of today's stress. It could be the echo of a thought you once had, a sorrow you didn't yet grieve, a joy you never allowed yourself to feel, or a fragment of insight dressed in symbols. But here's the paradox. The mind works harder at night not to make noise, but to help you return to silence. Lynn once shared that during her first meditation retreat, she had wild, vivid dreams every night. One moment she was walking with her younger self. Another she was arguing with a version of her mother who had already passed. First, she was disturbed. She asked the teacher, "I came here for peace. Why am I dreaming so much?" The teacher smiled gently and said, "Because peace is not what you arrive to. It's what must first rise to the surface and be seen." The dreams were not disturbances. They were releases. The mind, without distractions, was finally letting go of what she had kept locked away for years. Sometimes the forgetting of a dream is not failure. It is the mind's mercy. It knows when you're not ready to remember. It knows what should stay as energy, not image. In Buddhist practice, we are invited to observe the mind without judgment. Even when we don't fully understand it, we learn to bow to its depth, to its mystery, to its tireless service on our behalf. And perhaps that's why some dreams leave us without memory, but with emotion, because emotion is the language of the deeper mind. Not always words, not always scenes, but a subtle current pulling gently at the heart. When you wake, instead of asking, "What was the dream?" try asking, "How am I feeling now? What is still alive in me?" You might not remember the dream, but you might remember the message it left behind. Because while your body slept, your mind was still loving you, still healing you, still whispering, in a voice just soft enough to reach your soul without waking you. Part 3. Letting go of the need to understand. We are always trying to understand. It's almost instinctual. Something strange happens, and the mind jumps in. What does this mean? Is it a sign? Is it trying to tell me something? And maybe it is, but maybe not in the way we think. Lynn once had a dream she couldn't shake. She couldn't remember what happened, just that it was important. There was no story, no image, only the feeling that something in her had shifted. She tried to analyze it, pulled out old dream dictionaries, scanned through YouTube dream interpretations, talked to friends, teachers, even astrologers, but nothing fit. It wasn't until she sat in stillness, not to solve the dream, but to feel it again, that something within her softened, and she realized the dream didn't need to be understood. It had already done its work. In Buddhism, not knowing is not a flaw. It is a doorway. Some teachings are delivered not as explanations, but as experiences. They bypass the intellect and land straight in the heart, quietly rewiring us from within. A Zen master once said, "The truth is not in the words. It is in the pause between them." In the same way, what your dream gave you may not be found in memory, but in the way your breath feels the next morning, in how you speak more gently that day, in the way you let something go without needing a reason. There's a Buddhist story about a student who asked the master, "Why do I forget my dreams? They feel important." The master smiled and said, "Because the dream was never about remembering. It was about what it opened in you while you slept." Understanding is beautiful, but it is not always necessary, especially not in the realm of the subtle, the sacred, the unseen. Sometimes trying to understand is a form of control. We want to grasp, define, pin things down. But dreams are like birds. If you chase them too hard, they fly away. Letting go of the need to interpret a dream is an act of humility, saying, Even if I don't know what this was, I trust that it moved something in me. That is enough. That is more than enough. So the next time you wake up, with a feeling but no memory, try not to rush into the mind's machinery. Instead, close your eyes again, place your hand on your heart, and whisper to yourself, I may not understand this, but I welcome its gift anyway, because not everything needs to be known. Some things just need to be received. Part 4, Karma, Symbols, and the Subtle Dharma. In waking life, karma speaks in cause and effect. In dreams, it speaks in symbols. A locked door, an endless hallway, a child staring without a face, a garden you've never seen, but somehow remember. You wake up unsettled or inexplicably moved, and though your memory fades, a piece of something ancient lingers. Buddhism teaches us that karma isn't just about external outcomes. It's about tendencies, energy patterns, the subtle momentum of thoughts, feelings, intentions, rippling silently through the mind stream. And when we sleep, those ripples become images. They become soundless teachings, whispers from within. A Tibetan teacher once said, karma wears many masks. In the day, it shows you traffic and conversations. At night, it shows you a forest with no path and waits to see if you'll walk anyway. Lin once dreamt of a vast ocean. She was trying to swim, but the water kept pulling her backward. She fought, screamed underwater, grasped for light, but never made it to shore. She woke up breathless, trembling. There was no story, no ending, only struggle. First, she thought it was just stress, but as her meditation deepened, she began to see how often she struggled in waking life, trying to prove herself, to be enough, to be heard. The ocean wasn't punishment. It was a mirror. In that dream, her own energy was made visible. And once she saw it clearly, something began to loosen. The Dharma sometimes comes not in the words of a monk, but in the dream of a sea you can't conquer. Not to scare you, but to show you what you've been swimming against for far too long. And sometimes the symbols are gentle. A single lotus blooming in the dark. A loved one handing you something wordlessly. A sky turning gold just before you wake. These are not things to decode. They are things to bow to. Because in the dream world, the subconscious is closer to the Dharma than we realize. Why? Because it has no masks. No social filters. No ego trying to perform spiritual progress. It just is. Raw, honest, symbolic, and sometimes astonishingly compassionate. So instead of trying to figure out your dreams, practice receiving them the way monks receive alms, gratefully without demanding more. Ask gently, what is this image inviting me to feel? What energy in me does this reflect? What if this was a teaching not for the mind but for the heart? And then trust that karma, in its quietest form, is not here to punish you, but to awaken you through even the subtlest flickers of the night. Part 5, Morning Stillness and Dream Echoes. There's a sacred moment that happens just before the world fully wakes. The room is still, the light is soft, and you are neither fully asleep nor completely awake. It's in this gentle space that dreams leave their last traces, not as stories, but as sensations, as impressions in the body, as subtle shifts in how you feel without knowing why. Lynn used to wake up and immediately reach for her phone. Emails, messages, deadlines. Her dreams disappeared before she even had the chance to say goodbye. But when she started practicing morning stillness, a few minutes of quiet, eyes half closed, just breathing, everything changed. She began to notice something strange. On some mornings, her heart felt heavy, though nothing bad had happened. On others, her breath felt light, as if she had been forgiven in her sleep. The dreams were gone, but something remained. A texture, a tone, a quiet message not for the mind but for the body. Buddhism teaches us that consciousness moves like waves, and sometimes when the dream dissolves, what's left behind is a residue of insight. You may not remember the lotus, but you'll feel a softness in your chest. You may not recall the conversation, but your anger has mysteriously lessened. It's as if the dream whispered to your heart directly and asked your mind to please step aside. So what can we do in those first few minutes of waking? We listen, not with ears, but with presence. You can place one hand on your chest, one on your belly, and ask gently, what is here this morning?
No forcing, no recalling.
Just feeling. Maybe there's warmth. Maybe there's tightness. Maybe there's nothing at all, and even that is welcome. This practice isn't about remembering the dream. It's about honoring the fact that something happened in the night, even if it left no trace you can name. Because even forgotten dreams leave footprints, not on the mind, but on the soul. And when we meet the morning with this kind of attention, the whole day shifts. We carry the dream, not in our memory, but in our manner, in our speech, in how we pause more often, in how we smile without reason, in how we suffer just a little less. So tomorrow morning, before the world comes rushing in, before the headlines, the noise, the to-do lists, sit, breathe, and listen, because while the dream may have faded, its echo is still speaking, softly, lovingly, and always in your own language. Part 6, The Dream That Never Left. There's a strange moment that happens sometimes, hours, maybe even days after a dream has passed. You'll be walking somewhere, making tea, hearing a certain piece of music, watching sunlight land on a wall, and suddenly a quiet déjà vu rises. A flicker, a sensation, like something inside you whispers, you've seen this before, but not here, not in waking life. And in that moment you realize the dream never really left. It simply changed clothes. It stepped out of the night and slipped quietly into the present moment. In Buddhist teaching, the boundary between waking and dreaming is not as solid as we imagine.
Tất cả các pháp đều như mộng, như huyễn.
All phenomena are like a dream, an illusion. This life, this so-called waking world, is itself a kind of dream, a shared one, a long one, but still ever-changing, ephemeral, empty of fixed essence. What if the dreams you forget at night are not gone, but have simply merged with your day? What if that feeling of calm you can't explain is leftover peace from a dream you can't recall? What if the gentleness in your voice today is the echo of a forgiveness that happened while you slept? Lynn once said to her teacher, "I think my dreams are trying to tell me something, but I can't understand them." And the teacher responded, "That's because they're not meant to be understood. They're meant to be lived." There's something powerful about that, to let go of chasing meanings and instead embody the feeling the dream left behind. Maybe you dreamt of flying, and today you speak your truth. Maybe you dreamt of drowning, and today you finally let someone hold you. Maybe you dreamt of silence, and today you don't rush to fill it. The dream lives on not as memory, but as transformation. Buddhism doesn't ask you to interpret every dream. It asks you to be awake to the teachings that arise from within, in whatever form they come. Some arrive as thoughts, some as teachers, and some as forgotten dreams that become actions you never realized were planted while you slept. So tonight, as you close your eyes, don't worry about remembering. Just set an intention to receive. Not answers, but presence. Not symbols, but softness. Because the most important dreams don't beg to be remembered. They simply shape who you become. In the morning after. Part 7, Breathing the Dream Back Home. Breathe in, breathe out. That's all you need to do. You may not remember the dream. You may not understand the message. But if you are breathing, then the dream is still with you. Because in Buddhism, the breath is not just air. It's awareness in motion. It's the thread that connects body to mind, mind to heart, heart to something deeper. And even if the dream has faded, its impression may still be traveling through your breath, like incense carried on wind. Lynn began practicing something simple each morning. Before rising, before thinking, before reaching for anything, she would place her hands over her chest and whisper, "I breathe in what came through the night." I breathe out what no longer needs to stay. It was her way of welcoming the unknown, without needing to understand it. Her way of honoring the parts of her that had journeyed far while she slept. Because who's to say that healing must always be conscious? That insight must come with clear memory? That transformation only counts if you can explain it? There's a deeper wisdom in letting things pass through you, like wind through trees, like clouds across moonlight, like dreams that don't stay, but still change everything. The Buddha taught that true insight often arises, not from grasping, but from surrendering. So maybe this is your invitation, to sit, to breathe, to feel, and to trust that whatever your dream was, it has done what it came to do. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to fix it. You don't even need to know it. Just return to the breath, the soft rhythm beneath all words, and let your body remember what your mind forgot, because sometimes the breath remembers the dream more honestly than the brain ever could. Part 8, a gentle farewell to the forgotten. There are goodbyes that make no sound, no words,
no closure.
just a quiet absence. The kind of goodbye a dream gives when it visits you at night, leaves before dawn, and never explains why it came. But not all goodbyes are endings. Some are transitions, soft openings into something new, even if you don't recognize it yet. In Buddhism, we're reminded, what comes, let it come. What stays, let it stay. What goes, let it go. The forgotten dream has already done its part. Maybe it comforted a part of you that was too tired to ask for help. Maybe it whispered forgiveness to someone you couldn't forgive while awake. Maybe it simply sat beside your soul in silence, reminding it that it's not alone. And now it's gone. Not lost, just complete. So what if we didn't fight the forgetting? What if we bowed to it instead? What if every morning, instead of feeling the loss of memory, we welcomed the presence of transformation? You don't remember what the rain said to the tree, but you see the green. You don't recall the breeze last night, but you wake to cooler air. You don't remember the dream, but maybe that's because it planted something too sacred for words. And now, it's time to let go. Not just of the dream, but of the need to hold, to name, to explain. Place your hands on your chest, just for a moment. Feel the quiet. Feel what is left behind. That too is a gift. And as you breathe into this moment, may you trust that what you've forgotten is already living in how you move, how you speak, how you soften toward the world. Because some dreams don't end when we wake. They become the way we live. And that, dear one, is the most beautiful dream of all. Imagine this. A bird lands beside you in the night. It sings a song only your heart can hear. And before dawn, it flies away, leaving no sound, no feather, just a different way your soul breathes in the morning. That is the nature of some dreams. They don't stay, but they change you in ways no memory ever could. So don't worry if you forget. Just be present to what remains. What has changed in you lately that you can't quite explain? If this episode stirred something quiet in you, leave a comment. We read every whisper. And if you'd like more teachings like this, subscribe and help us bring Buddhist wisdom to hearts still dreaming, even in the daylight.